Hi guys, today we have an airdrops and DeFi update for you on Aptos ecosystem alongside some quick Zora and Gitcoin news near the end of the video. Let's get started. First things first, if you are completely new to the Aptos ecosystem, I would highly recommend that you check out our last video. Our last big guide on Aptos was actually done in April this year, but all of the things about onboarding, about bridging into Aptos, about getting your funds there, which wallets to use, everything is discussed in these two videos from April. So we even discussed some projects and advanced strategies, and most of the stuff we talk about is actually still relevant today. As you can see, the main projects we talked about are still top dogs on Aptos, such as Aries, Amnis, Tala, even Solana. They still hold first spots. However, there's a new player in town with Echo Lending. This is a Bitcoin liquid restaking platform on Aptos, which has absolutely exploded this month, and it might be actually worth a look. We're also going to be discussing a little bit about some DEXs, best DEXs to use for airdrops and DeFi, as well as money markets, such as Echelon and Superposition. First of all, let's take a look into Aptos token price action. When it launched, it had 1 billion in token supply, so 1 billion tokens, and now with inflation rate of about 7%, it has a total supply of just over 1 billion. It is 1 billion and 122 million. So 122 million new tokens in 2 years is not the worst inflationary mechanism. It is still inflationary and its max supply is unlimited, but it is relatively reasonable considering that only 7% staking rewards for Aptos. Now, regarding the more immediate price action, you can see that it shot up all the way to $11 earlier this week, and probably the main reason for that is the absolutely explosive growth of Aptos DeFi. You can see the total value locked went from just 300 million this summer to all the way to 850 million as of making of this video. And of course, the projects that are the main reasons why Aptos is growing are listed here. And DeFi Llama, as we said quadrillion times already, is probably the best place where you can get on-chain metrics alongside Dune, of course. And if you believe, like we do in our Discord, that the capital rotation is flowing from Sui into other ecosystems, then Aptos might be one of those beneficiaries where the liquidity is going next. Looking at this total value locked on chain, and metrics are looking very, very, very promising. Now, regarding the actual projects that we're going to be using in Aptos for today, you have the premier DEX on Aptos, which is LiquidSwap. LiquidSwap is probably the most reputable one out there, and they already had their airdrop of LSD token, but they might have future rounds. So if you want the safest place to trade, then it would definitely be this one. They have many pairs. They also have some earned positions on pools, farms, and staking. But again, we already covered all of this in April. Everything that we talked there still holds true. So this is probably the safest place to trade on Aptos. And when it comes to airdrop hunting, you always kind of want to double dip, where, for example, in Sui ecosystem, we are almost never going to be receiving an airdrop from Sui Foundation itself. But for Aptos, you have almost 50% of token supply still reserved for future campaigns and incentives. So in Aptos, when you're farming for specific project airdrops, such as, for example, this one or the one we're going to talk about soon about Econia Labs, you're also qualifying for the broader ecosystem airdrops, for example, like it was with Arbitrum Optimism as a whole chain. So when it comes to a little more risk-on version of airdrop hunting on the Aptos network, we can take a comparison with Sui. For example, DeepBook, which was incredible airdrop on Sui, we might have a similar version of that on Aptos. It's called Econia Labs. And they're basically an infrastructure play, just like DeepBook is for Sui. They are the same thing for Aptos, and they're projects that are using Econia as their infrastructure. You have, of course, Aries Markets. This is one of the more known ones, but there are others such as Echelon, Cana Labs, and Panora. These are the slightly more risk-on DEXs that we're going to be using. First example is Cana Labs. They have, of course, swap feature. They have perpetuals. They have a standard trade, limit orders, and others. But primarily, it is very important that you can also use a cross-chain transaction with Cana Labs, and you can send tokens from many other chains such as Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, and others. But you can also use it as a DEX. This was not actually possible in April, so I'm really happy that they have integrated other chains, not just ZkSync. And the other one, you have Panora. The closest estimate I have with Panora on Aptos is maybe Jumper. They have a very similar UI, but most importantly, you can find almost every token that you might need for the Aptos ecosystem here. And they also have an ongoing rewards program for 1 more week. Every swap that you do, you're going to be getting some extra Aptos incentives. Next, let's take a look at money markets on Aptos. We have many options, but we have identified 3 as main candidates. You have Aries, you have Echelon, and Superposition. They are all literally the same thing. They all have points programs, and they're all offering very similar APRs when it comes to both depositing and borrowing against it. Probably the best asset you can potentially use in this case is Wormhole USDC, because in all cases, the Wormhole USDC has been offering the best yields. So if you want to loop it, you can perhaps deposit Wormhole USDC and then borrow another stablecoin, swap into Wormhole USDC, and then just simply loop the whole process. But again, you can also do it with Aptos if you're bullish on Aptos. But in short, it is very straightforward, very simple. Deposit an asset, borrow against it, and then simply loop the process. Or you can simply deposit and generate points in that way. But keep in mind that usually these projects always reward people who borrow. Usually it's in a 4-to-1 ratio. And before we go into the really risky stuff, let's take a quick look again into Solana, which is the first V3.3 DEX on Aptos. Again, this is already everything explained in the last video in April, but a quick reminder is they still have pretty decent APRs on Solana Aptos pairs. The token is performing reasonably well over the last half a year. And most importantly, this is the first V3.3 DEX on a new chain, Aptos. And usually in a bull market, these V3.3 models, they go bonkers, they go crazy. Examples are Vechain and Optimism, the Airdrop platform on Base. So yeah, if you're interested in this, basically the best thing that I'm doing currently on Solana is locking up my SOL tokens and creating this NFT, which you can use then to generate some really nice APRs on voting for pools that you want incentivized. Again, we've already talked about all of this in the last video. Please avoid this meme coin nonsense. If you're actually going to be using your NFT to vote for these pools and get really nice APRs, make sure you're voting for some of the more reputable pools like stablecoins or Aptos pairs, because your rewards are always paid in the tokens that you're actually incentivizing. And highest on the risk curve for Aptos for today, we have Echo Protocol. They're a Bitcoin liquid risk-taking platform on Aptos, primarily utilizing Aptos BTC. They have really exploded on the scene with a really crazy growth over the last month, which might actually be a red flag in a sense if it's all artificial. But if it's not, they don't have a token. It is very straightforward. You simply get your assets. You can either bridge it from Bit2 network. It is a Bitcoin layer 2, but much more simply, you can simply swap into Aptos BTC on any of the DEXs that we talked about earlier in the video. And after that, you simply deposit. Now, what worries me is that the caps for this one are filled, but this literally same thing just underneath it, they are able to be deposited in. And the UI is a bit weird. So this is a huge red flag in the beginning, but if you're a true degen, if you're really ready to risk it for the biscuit, maybe a couple $100 across couple wallets in this thing is also potentially not a bad idea. You can also have an alternatives with stablecoins or Aptos itself, but it's offering lower APRs. So yeah, it's all up to you now. Now let's just take a quick look into what's new with Zora. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, they have actually registered a claim.zora domain, which might imply that we're actually going to get a Zora airdrop. So if you've been farming or you're looking to farm, you can do some activities still, and we're going to talk about that which. But first of all, there are actually NFTs that we bought for a couple dollars, just mint fee, that are worth over $300 today. So even from a price appreciation perspective, you can still make some really, really good money with Zora, even if they don't airdrop. And the best thing is, with the latest integration where you can basically buy and sell Zora NFTs on the spot, you don't actually have to find a buyer like you would on OpenSea. It makes everything so much smoother. So the 2 NFTs that I would recommend, and these are very, very time sensitive. You usually have only a couple hours for these, but of course you need to be up to date. You need to pay attention to these things and maybe be even in communities that do these things. One such is our Discord. But yeah, you have this Catalyst from Boxy Protocol, and another one is, of course, the new version of this old NFT, which is how Lazarus Group laundered 200 million from 25 crypto hacks. So yeah, these opportunities are here all the time, and you just need to be on the spot to capitalize. Finally, let's take a quick look into Scroll. So, of course, Scroll airdrop was slightly horrible. And of course, as you know, team has received millions of marks. I'm only guessing that this dump was a bad communication. They were like, Mark, you got 2. Chrissy, you got 3. No, I guess they didn't really communicate properly and the token dumped considerably. However, we've been talking about this for a couple of days already, where exactly we could short Scroll. And there was a guy in our Discord that made really decent gains on this. So yeah, for all of these strategies and more, we actively track many different active airdrops such as Scroll, Hyperlane, many others. This is everything happening in real time. If you want to talk with real chads in the DeFi space, consider joining. We have our subscriptions. We have everything on the official website. You only need to go into the first link of description. All of the links about everything we always talk about, first link of the description of this video. And perhaps the most important part is when you actually make money with airdrops, you want to protect your wealth. You want to make sure that you grow your capital. And one of the best places that I've personally seen I can park the capital is with Chris's farms. We have NFTs generating you 10% passive income every month, which has been absolutely stellar. He's been doing this for over a year and no signs of slowing down. Now, regarding the Gitcoin news, you have 2 weeks to vote for Gitcoin Grants 22. It's going to be lasting until November 6th, and this is a great way to Sybil-proof your wallets by simply making a donation to causes that you are actually holding, maybe even close to your heart. And lastly, if you are maybe new to airdrops or if you're feeling sometimes a little bit lost, Santiago has made an absolute banger video just today. It is airdrops still worth doing. And here we have identified 17 airdrops through our communication Discord, through similar discourse that are probably worth your time, energy, and attention. Also, I have to give credit where credit's due. CryptoCo, again, this is just a post of a generation. This is all the projects that if you're a Twitter guy, if you prefer everything in written format, you can find some incredible airdrops in this list. This is almost the same as what we've been doing for the last 6 months. So it's beautiful to see that the focus is very, very much aligned. Okay, actually, one last thing, and it has to do with revoking approvals. So Rabbit Wallet has this amazing feature where you can batch revoke across all blockchains, everything in one command. Of course, it is a separate transaction. So if you have many, for example, approvals on Ethereum, you probably want to wait lower Gwei because every transaction is going to cost you about $2 to $3. But definitely, this is incredibly useful, and with so many exploits like Radiant and others happening over the last couple of weeks and months, you definitely want to make sure that your wallets don't have any unlimited approvals across many different blockchains. And with that, the video comes to a close. If you like the content, you know what to do. Like and subscribe with bell notifications on. If you're serious about crypto, we're waiting for you in our Discord. Any questions, comments, drop them in the comment sections below. As always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day.